Bravo, Manju. Even with 2 fingers on each hand, painting was no problem for Manjula Parelkar. Her problem was the cost of materials she would need. One evening, she gathered enough courage to ask her mother for some extra money to buy colors and paints to learn painting. Mrs. Parelkar looked searchingly at her daughter and then pressed some money into her hands. She encouraged Manjula to go ahead and buy whatever she required. Manjula showed her first painting to her mother the very next day. Her mother was surprised to see what a beautiful painting she had made. Nobody had asked Manjula what she wanted for her 13th birthday, yet she got all she had secretly wished for. Artist's watercolors from her mother, a book on learning how to paint from her father, and sable hair watercolor brushes from her brother. Manjula studied the new book from cover to cover and soon used up all her papers. She knew for good watercolor paintings she needed special watercolor paper which was expensive, but she asked her mother anyway. However, Mr. Parelkar was doubtful as to whether Manjula would ever be able to become an artist with hands such as hers. He suggested to her mother that Manjula rather learn cooking or stitching. Manjula overheard the conversation and tucked away her watercolors and brushes in the farthest corner of her cupboard. The next day, she offered to help her mother with the cooking. She told her that she was through with painting. Mrs. Parelkar saw the pain in her daughter's eyes. She gripped Manjula firmly by her shoulders and looked her straight in the eye. Her voice was firm with determination, as she advised her daughter never to give up. Manju's throat was thick with tears. She turned away from her mother and dashed to her room, flinging herself on the bed and burying her face in the pillow. When at last she sat up, her eyes fell on a newspaper cutting on the table. Puzzled, she picked it up and read, "Playing football with artificial feet." The bold heading screamed at her. In New Hampshire, she read on, Rich Belanger, who had lost his feet in a train accident, decided to play football with artificial feet. His coach thought it was ridiculous. His parents did not like it, but Belanger stuck to it and made it to the Nashua team as the defender. Manjula dropped the clipping. What a brave boy, she thought. He didn't give up. He played on, despite what other people said. Perhaps her mother was right. She had to fight. Fight on like Rich Belanger. Manjula walked over to her cupboard, hunted through the pile of clothes, and pulled out her colors and brushes. On the day of the on-the-spot painting competition, she surprised her brother by saying that she would be taking part in the competition. If Rich Belanger could do it, why not Manjula Parelkar?
Rich Belanger?
Mrs. Parelkar asked, surprised.
Who is Rich Belanger?
Rich Belanger, spoke Manjula and her brother together.
Plays football with artificial feet. Isn't that something?